Welcome everyone to our Global Employability Expert Series. This is Mirta Aguirre. I'm the head of employability and coaching. And today we have a very interesting topic, which is, let's discover the topic for today. Building a global career, where to start and steps to take. And let's discover who is going to be our speaker for today. So our speaker is going to be Alex McLean. Originally from Australia, Alex graduated in 2016, and in only 5 years, he managed to build a global career that has seen him travel, live, and work in over 10 countries across 3 different continents. The key to making this happen was his extracurricular activities and forming long-lasting connections. He is convinced that every student has the opportunity to create such a global path, but just needs to know where to start. He will share all about this in our webinar, and let's see what else he will share in our webinar.
Perfect. Yes, perfect, everyone.
Yes. So he will jump just in a couple of seconds, and he will share key things we need to consider when building a global career, trends in remote work and 21st century skills, and how to build a first 21st century toolkit. So I guess without further ado, Alex, you are, first of all, thanks for being here and
Pleasure.
welcome.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure to virtually see everyone and sort of be a part of this session today. It is a bit of a passion of mine of building global careers and advising other students and potential career growthers about the same process. A little bit more of a background on myself. I come from a very small rural town in southwest Queensland called Nanango. You can Google it. It's, nothing fantastic, but it's about 3 hours anyway from any major city. So it was pretty much isolated for most of my high school career. However, at an early age, I identified that I wanted to see the rest of the world. I moved to Brisbane to pursue my higher education in sociology and marketing. To date, I'm still yet to use my sociology degree. However, I've used my marketing degree quite extensively. But through my university career, I built connections and undertook experiences that have allowed me to be in the position where I am today, which is working remotely anywhere in the world. So as of this conversation, I'm currently sitting in Portugal, enjoying the nice 30-degree weather. However, I typically live in Scotland, and that's my normal residence of home, but I've also just come from a trip from the Balkans as well. So again, I've had the opportunity to live and sort of experience different parts of the world, have and experience different cultures and food, which is my favorite part of actually traveling, is trying all the different foods. But this sort of lifestyle and this international career is quite possible. And especially in today's society, it is even more possible than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. So what we'd like to sort of go over today is first things to consider when trying to build an international career. First off is understanding that not all paths are linear. And by meaning that is, it doesn't necessarily mean when you're going into university, this is what you'll be doing for the rest of your life. When I first went to university, my intention was to actually become a primary school teacher. That was my wholehearted intention, was to go in there and become a primary school teacher at the end of it. However, because I didn't necessarily have the grades at that time, I could only get accepted into a business degree. With that in saying, through my degree there, I found a bit of a passion and interest in doing this and pursuing this even further. What's resulted in is I actually work within the business landscape, but in an educational focus. So I've actually joined both passions into one. And this is what I'm trying to get at here is what you may be doing now may not be what you're doing in the future. And that's okay. That's completely fine. We've got roughly about 80 to 90 years on this planet. You can change your careers at any one point. But it's just thinking about what you're passionate about and what you really want to do. So it's interesting to see that the Federal Reserve Bank here found that only 27% of college graduates work in their field of related major. So as a reminder, I graduated with marketing and sociology. I have not worked in the field of sociology since having that degree. Marketing, I've employed aspects of marketing. However, I've never worked for a marketing agency. So it just goes to show that even what you may study may not result in what you end up pursuing as a career, and that's completely fine.
in my case, Alex, I studied international relations and I did some things related to that, but then I dedicated myself more to education. And then I eventually did a master's in education. So my master's helped me like redefine a little bit, shift, right, from my original degree.
Yeah. So again, the world is your oyster. And I very much like that term, is you could do whatever you put your mindset to it. We live in sort of an age where it's great to have university degrees and they help along path as well. However, you could do master's degrees, you can do online courses, you can pursue any sort of passion that you have. And that makes obviously your working environment a lot better. If you're passionate about what you're doing, it makes the work week so much easier. But it's also interesting to see here that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median tenure of workers between 55 and 64 was 10.1 years. So if you speak to any one of your parents, they would typically be within the same organization for about 10 years. My father, for example, he's been with the Australian government for, I want to say 15 to odd 20 years now. So he's very passionate about that. However, for individuals between the age of 25 and 34, and for reference, I'm 31, the average of sort of tenure at work is 2.8 years. And I can actually confirm that because, again, I've had a fair few jobs since graduating university. It's roughly 2.8 years, 3 years, because there's new opportunities on the horizon. And that's just the expected norm these days, is you won't invest the remaining of your life in a certain organization. You will go between different organizations, improving on your skills and your networks, which help you leverage that global career. At any one point, if anyone wants me to rehash a slide or talk about it a little bit more, just raise your hand, unmute yourself. Do feel to engage with me as well. So what's the importance of work experience? During my university career, and I saw this was one of the comments as well, it was, for myself, a bit of a struggle to find internships, especially in Australia, finding related internships, because my university at the time didn't have the resources in place to direct me to the correct path. They obviously encouraged me to do internships. They encouraged me to gain work experience. But when it came to actually finding said experience, they were not that useful. But the 3 to 4 experience I had were quite useful in the building of my international career. So the ICIMA's class of 2020 report, and ICIM is a recruitment platform. Recruitment professionals agree that past work experience, about 70%, followed by candidates' communication skills, which is 61, and referral agencies, 43, were more important than a college major when hiring an entry-level applicant. In summary, what that means is if you go into the workforce with just your college major, with no experience, with no referrals and no mentioning of skills, the individual that potentially hasn't gone to college but has got the work experience is more likely to get that posting than yourself. So that goes to show that the importance of work experience in tandem with your college major can set you up for success. When it comes to the National Associations of Colleges and Employees, NACE, employees continue to indicate that internship experience is the deciding factor between two otherwise qualified candidates. And I've seen that time and time again in my own realm, especially when applying for jobs. What I'm 9 times out of 10 asked is about my internship and work experience. It's not where I studied, it's not the degree that I got or the reputation of the university. That's really just a footnote at the end of that conversation. What a lot of the conversations that I'm having with, potential employers is really about, what did I learn in this experience? How did I implement my skills? Who did I form a connection with? And that's the real importance there. And obviously by joining this virtual internship program, you get to obviously utilize those skills and experiences and learn through the internship coaches on how to communicate that experience as well to potential employers as well. But then it comes to the importance of network and networking. So about 85% of jobs are filled by networking. My joining virtual internships, when I applied for the role, it was really through networking. It wasn't through a job posting. It wasn't through sort of any Indeed or Google posting. it was through a network. It was an individual that I knew at virtual internships. I reached out and had a chat with them, and a position was formed. So again, networking really does work. And it's also interesting to know that 70% of jobs are not published on public job sites. So it is really important right now in your current, education career, your internship career, is to start building those connections. It's great to leverage those connections, speak with that individual, utilize their connections as well.
Alex, someone raised their hand. Can we take a question?
Sure, yes, by all means.
Atis, you can open your mic if you wanna, or you can write it in the chat the way you prefer it. Atis, you change your mind? Okay, maybe.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Again, anyone can unmute themselves, raise their hands. Feel free to ask any questions. I am an open book.
Yes, excellent.
So when it comes to skills that employers are really seeking, it's really communication, teamwork, sales and customer service, leadership, and problem solving and critical thinking. So I've actually learned all 5 of these skills through my internships and my part-time work experience. My part-time work. So when I was in high school, I was working at a local grocery store, a major chain called Woolworths. I don't know if anyone's been to Australia, but that's who I did my sort of high school work years. Through that experience, I learned teamwork, I learned sales and customer service. I then, during university, I worked for a call center, so communication and problem solving was one of those things. Through my internship experience, I learned leadership as well as more problem solving skills. So all of these experiences that I've done throughout my work career have allowed me to understand these skills and be able to articulate these skills as well to future employees. And this is what's really led me to have the international career that I've had, is because I've excelled in each 5 of these areas. It allows me to explore different opportunities. It allows me to engage with different cultures, different businesses, different employers as well around the world. So trends in the remote work in the 21st century. But before we get into that, was there any questions on things to consider? Oh, all right, perfect. So remote working has been around for a while. I've actually been remote working for the last 7 years. So this is well before COVID. Well before COVID, I was working remotely, which
Sorry, just one thing. If someone wants to say anything, raise your hand so we know you want to speak, and then I will give you the opportunity to speak, right? Because I don't know if I saw a hand that was raised and then that was, so I didn't know if that, Fatih, yes. You want to say something? Okay. Christian, you want to, yes. Okay, if you don't have any question, then you go on, Alex.
Okay. So as I was saying, I've worked remotely for the last 7 years. This is well before COVID. It was very interesting watching friends, colleagues, and family sort of deal with working remotely, because it does come with its challenges. And I'm sitting here on the side saying, look, this has been fantastic. I've been doing it for a fair few years, to the point where I don't think I'll ever step back into an office environment. There's a fair few reasons for that. But before we sort of see those benefits, it's interesting or sort of important to note how far this back actually goes. So telecommunicating or remote working has been around since the 1970s. This isn't something that's brand new. This is something that's been a working progression over this time. IBM starts the experiment of remote working in the 1980s, with 40% of their workforce now in 2009 start working remotely. I started working remotely at least in 2015 at least. So again, it is a trend that has been growing, but as of COVID, obviously that's exploded even more. But what that means for yourself is you can really now build a global career, either sitting obviously in your own country of choice and working for an international company. So like I said, I live in Scotland most of the days. How Virtual Internships is a very online remote company, so I could take that anywhere. That's why I'm working in Portugal. I was working in Australia a couple of weeks back. I potentially could be working in Asia in a couple of weeks' time. The thing is, it allows me the ability to work wherever, but Virtual Internships isn't the only company that does that. There's a lot of companies out there. I know for the fact Google and Facebook are offering their employees to work remotely. Um, Virtual Internships has raised their hand. No, I'm missing. Yeah.
I see Christian raise their hand.
Yeah.
And also Luciana is asking a really interesting question.
Okay.
She says,
yep.
About the skills, I could see that there are more soft skills required. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. It's great to have the technical skills, and that obviously comes up when you're speaking about the particular role. But the soft skills are just as important, if not more important, in my opinion. The reason why is this: it allows you to form that relationship with the employee or the employer. Again, this is how you build connections. This is how you build out that network. This is how you have a reputation with others on an international scale. So even though technical skills are just as important, obviously when it comes to those very technical roles of, say, engineering, computer science and IT, you've got healthcare and pharmaceuticals, you've got legal, there's a range of jobs there, but each one of those jobs, there's always soft skills that are needed, which is communication. You need to have the ability to speak to others and to articulate, your thoughts and your experiences to be relevant to the project at hand. You need to have team working skills, because 9 times out of 10, you'll always be working in a team environment. You always need to have problem solving skills. Not every day is the same. Not every day will be smooth, but you need to have the ability to overcome that and obviously understand how to persevere. A lot of the skills that you need are soft skills. And it's good now that even during your internship, you start working on these, or even outside of this program and just in day-to-day life that you work on them. So, when you speak to individuals, especially professionals, connecting with them on a professional level, sharing your LinkedIn, talking to them about what they're doing, what's interesting in their industry, this forms a connection with them, which we'll discuss a little bit later as well. So it is important to have soft skills. Perfect. Christian, you've raised your hand again. Do you have a question? I can unmute you. No? Okay. I guess we'll continue. So what are some drivers of remote working? So first off is environmental pressures. So originally oil prices, traffic, and environmental concerns. I remember when I was going to an in-office job at a call center in Brisbane, it would take me roughly about an hour to get to work each day. That's 2 hours of my day lost, going to and from the office place. There's also an increase in technology now, which allows having personal computers, Wi-Fi, and collaboration tools to be utilized anywhere. So I've sat on the beach with my laptop, and I've done some work projects while sitting there, so it can be done. And now there's a generation of work habits where millennials lead the charge in sort of changing the workforce and work-life balance. So the concept of 9 to 5, in my opinion, no longer exists. It should not be the expectation of you to work within that stringent 9 to 5 hours, because that's not how the world works. The world is a 24-hour sort of environment, and that's not to say that you're expected to work 24 hours. What it's saying is you're expected to work the needed work. You work what the hours sort of need for that particular project. If that is, say, 3 hours of your day, obviously you put all your effort into finishing that, so you've got the remaining day. If it requires, maybe 9 to 10 hours, and there will be those days that do happen, obviously you put your time and effort into that. But you do have a lot of flexibility when it comes to an international career as well as a remote career. And the effects of pandemics have also, led to this charge of a sort of an online career as well. So 20% of eligible workers prior to COVID, then it became 71% of eligible workers were working at home in October 2020. And this is because companies they were forced to make this change. There was a realization that no one needs to really go to the office unless they want to. So my partner's sister who works here in Portugal, what they're doing to encourage people to come to the office is they've got a sort of a library built in, they've got a theater system built in, they've got collaboration tools built in, they've got sort of evening sort of functions with bands and other sort of guest speakers coming in. So they're really trying to make it an incentive for people to come to the office, but they're still not requiring everyone to come there every day. So this hybrid model is really coming out as well. So it's interesting to see what is on offer out there. And we'll sort of go into sort of exploring these opportunities and how you can take advantage of them. But how does this affect employability? And so sort of what that looks like for you. So 40% of workers, their jobs can be done remotely. This is quite evident. And this is just me sort of spitballing it, but anything that's done via a computer can be really done remotely. There's nothing really that needs to be done in office. Obviously, if it's like construction, obviously you need to be there in person. If it's being a chef, that makes sense. You got to be there in person to cook in the restaurant. If it's being a doctor, yes, you definitely have to be in the surgical office. But you would be surprised how many jobs can be done remotely if both the employee and the employer have that understanding that it can be done. Is there any questions on remote working? Because it is quite relevant on building an international career. Is there any questions on remote working and what that's sort of looking like for you itself?
I guess one thing interesting or important to reflect is what sort of skills we need to work remotely, right? And probably you're going to discuss this because we said skills are essential. Of course, we can have a university degree, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what we can do. Because it's like, I always do the same comparison. It's like going to an English course and then having your certificate, but then going to the country and not being able to speak.
Yeah. So,
you need to be able to do the thing.
And that's exactly it. So obviously having a language skill is quite essential, and showing documentation of that language ability is quite essential as well. And you will find from time to time, jobs will ask you for language certificates, especially if they're hiring on an international scale. But a lot of the skills that I've personally sort of achieved over my career is really the ability to network and communicate with others. That's quite essential. It's really important to be able to work with different cultures, have an understanding of different cultures and their practices, and be empathetic towards them as well. Because again, that allows you to have that different mindset. Your idea, why it may be fantastic, is not the only idea. And at the end of the day, it's still an opinion and still an idea. There's obviously different ways of doing that. Other skills is obviously having the ability to work via your laptop and be dedicated to do the work that's needed. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of distractions working from home, but you need to be disciplined in sort of, okay, I need to allocate, say, 5 hours in the morning to do this particular work. So the remaining afternoon, I can do what I need to do on that side of things. So there is obviously being networking, there's being disciplined, there's obviously communicating as well, and there's also understanding. And these are some quite essential skills.
We have lots of questions.
Yes,
Ahmed, do you have your hand raised? Do you want to ask a question using your mic?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. It's a good thing, especially for me, the remote work. I need it. Also, more you can make a balance between your social life and business life. That is amazing. But we have also one challenge. The challenge is competitions. As you know, it's globally, it's no limit, no space. So the competition, it's very strong. For example, when you apply for some job, when I apply for some job, also another candidate will be apply for another place in the world from anywhere. So that is widely, and I think we have to be more unique.
Yes.
But it's yeah, because it's no limit,
Mhm.
no limit for that. That is one challenge I face it for my experience.
Yep. And it's definitely a challenge I've experienced as well. You're right. It is now a global market. Employers can apply hire on anyone from around the world. And you were right. You need to set yourself apart. One way in doing that is being personal and showing your personality when it comes to interviews. Don't be afraid to sort of ask questions, to make some slight jokes if appropriate. Speak to them on a very human level. And I think this is one of the questions from an anonymous attendee is how do you bring warmth and more human proximity to remote working? But this comes with sort of connecting with individuals. So say, for example, you applied for a job and it's all done online. Okay, so part of the process will be a pre-recorded video. What I would suggest in doing that is just being sort of yourself. Be yourself as much as you can. I know it's a very nerve-wracking experience, but say hello how you would say hello to your friends and family. Be very polite in that sort of sense. Be very hand gesture. Talk to them like they're human beings. Just engage with them instead of just responding. Always try to engage. And there is a difference. There's responding, which is obviously being presented with a question and then reading off a script of this, 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 and this. There's no sort of personal touch in that. Try to engage as much as you can. When it comes to the interview process, again, try to add that personal element in there. So speak to them about their different cultures if you have any sort of relevant experience to them as well. So they might be from a particular country which you've gone and you've experienced, and from a tourist perspective, you can sort of add some sort of notes on this side of things. What this will happen is once you start making those personal comments and sort of interacting with individuals, they will remember you. Regardless of, you may have the same experience as the other individual, you may have done all the same internships, you may have the same degree. But because you've interacted with them on a personal level, they're going to remember that conversation because you took the time to ask them questions about them. You took the time to engage with them, which is very, if you speak to anyone and if anyone shows interest in you, you're always going to remember that individual. So I understand that there is a lot of competition out there at the moment, but a lot of people are still trying to build up these personal skills in an online environment. So you can take that opportunity now to still have those same in-person conversations as you would do online. I think we've got a few more questions here. So Savannah, I see that your question is, do you have any recommendations for job site places to look for remote work? As we sort of mentioned before, a lot of jobs are through your network. Okay. So my first and foremost sort of advice is to jump on LinkedIn, go through your industry of choice and find like-minded individuals and send an invite. That would be my first and best advice, because what's going to happen from that is, one, their company or them themselves are going to post jobs via LinkedIn. It won't be they may be visible on sort of job boards, but at least you'll get the notification and it happens straight away. When you send these invites via LinkedIn, just send a personal message just saying, look, I'm an individual that's currently studying XYZ. I'm just interested to learn more about the industry and learn more from your experiences. It doesn't have to be too much more than that. But if, outside of sort of applying to LinkedIn, you can also, what I've used is LinkedIn Jobs. I've also used Indeed. I've used Google as well. And obviously you can find jobs via that way. But again, the best network will always be, the best way to find jobs will be in your own internal network. Anonymous attendee is, how do you bring warmth and more humanity, proximity to remote work? We have this amazing cool tool called instant messaging. You can message any one of your colleagues about asking how their day is, sharing jokes, sharing memes. I love to share memes with my team. I think it's a fantastic way to sort of spread a little bit of joy. You find a great meme on, Instagram, you share it, it's sort of relatable to what you're currently working on. Don't be afraid to, like I said, be a bit more personal with your communication via instant messaging and speaking with others. And that's how you sort of bring a bit more warmth and sort of human proximity. Yes, you're always going to be working remotely. You may or may not have that opportunity to speak in person, but again, that barrier there for online it's just an illusion. You can still have that personal connection. And then Yulia's question is, how do you show you have skills? Is it enough just to say that you can do it, or requires more than that? That really depends on the role. I know, for example, for some job applications, there'll be a required test that you need to do. They will require you to complete XYZ project, and you will need to do that. That is showcasing your skills. Others will ask you to submit documentation. It varies between each and every different job. What I would suggest you start doing is listing down your skills, just in an Excel sheet. List down all the skills that you have. And in those skills, provide an example, whether this is an online document, whether this is some other work, or even you writing out a sentence on how you would justify this experience. This allows you to have it at hand, but also allows you to reflect on your skills and if they're actual skills or just sort of personal sort of things. So my suggestion to you, Yulia, is to create an Excel sheet, write down all your skills, and then for each column next to it is, do you have the example of this? And this allows you to sort of have that at hand. Okay, so I'll keep going just because I think we're running close to time. Last question, Christian, I see you've raised your hand a couple of times. So is there any benefits in working for recruitment agencies instead of directly working for companies? So working recruitment agencies, so my understanding of this question, is it better to apply via recruitment agency or is it better to apply via the company itself? In any case, it really depends on the situation you're in. You could be applying to 20 to 30 different companies directly, and you could not be having any responses. You could be going to a recruitment agency, and in a couple of weeks, you'll have 3 or 4 responses. The reason why recruitment agencies exist is because companies pay them a commission. However, using recruitment agencies could cost you as well. So it's really dependent on, what's your current situation. I would say if you're in a position to do both, then do both. There's no harm in sort of stacking the deck in your favor. However, if you can do one or the other, my sort of recommendation would be going directly approaching companies. And you can even take this a step further, is you could reach out to the hiring manager on LinkedIn and send him a personal message saying, look, Mr. Smith, I saw that you had a business development role listed on your LinkedIn page. I would like to put a request in to either connect with you to discuss this role a bit further, or I would like to sort of note that I would be applying for this job, and it'd be great to sort of connect and sort of discuss a little bit more. Okay, perfect. All right, we've got about 15 more minutes, so we'll keep going. All right, so building a 21st century toolkit. So step 1 is obviously a strong network of peers and leaders. We'll go into this. Step 2, digital fluency and understanding. Step 3, continuous learning through micro-credentials and self-leadership. Number 4, intercultural and interpersonal skills for a global job marketplace. Number 5 is developing a strong CV with keywords, be ready for video interviewing and having a LinkedIn in place. Step 6 is work experience to better understand the ambiguity of work as well, okay? So building a strong network of peers and leaders. So generational work habits. So the informative interview is a formal conversation you can have with someone in a working area of interest to you. What this is sort of essentially meaning is you can start reaching out to individuals via LinkedIn and speaking to them about what they're doing. If you have not already, if you have not built a LinkedIn profile, that is your first and foremost step. I cannot strongly suggest and encourage that you build out a LinkedIn page. I was encouraged by my university to create one during my business degree. That's why I have one today. But it has been very beneficial for me, okay? It allows me to connect with individuals from around the world, okay? You need to start working on these skills. You need to start reaching out. You need to start building out your network of peers. If you haven't already, any sort of previous job, you adding in your supervisors, adding in your colleagues, you can even add in your teachers. I can bet you 9 times out of 10, your course lecturers, your teachers, your mentors will have a LinkedIn account. Add them because they're in the industry. And then it's attending events, either both remotely or in person. You can find these events on Eventbrite. You can find them on LinkedIn. This is essentially typing in, say, engineering in Brighton, or, computer science and IT conference in Brisbane, Australia. It's really that simple. Sometimes they're free, which is obviously the ones you should be attending. The ones you paid for, consider what your financial situation is. You can also attend networking drinks or networking evenings. These are also great to attend and build out your network. And again, you share your LinkedIn saying, I'm so-and-so, I'm on a LinkedIn. It'd be great to connect with you and speak at a later date. So that's some points there. Be open to continuous learning. So nurture your soft skills, okay? And that's what we sort of discussed before. So don't expect the average employer to initiate training for you on these skills necessary to keep your job or for you to advance. So show initiative, gain leadership skills, participate in teamwork and mentoring programs. Develop your emotional intelligence through travel and experience. And that's what I've really done is I've traveled to different parts, not only for work, but for actual personal travel. I try to engage with the local populace by, trying to join for dinner or, doing certain events, cultural events. Really try to embed yourself as much as you can. And then work on stress tolerance and management. I don't experience a lot of stress in my life. It's just the person I am. But you can build these tools on how to deal with this. One of the key ones I've found is, taking a break, taking 10 deep breaths, and then coming back to the problem. Just take some time to reflect on it. And then how to upskill your hard skills. So consider getting a certificate. You can do any online courses these days. There's a course for everything and anything. So if you've got a particular skill set you want to explore more and show off more, get a certificate in it. And generally, maybe it could be free, it could be $20 US, it could be, a couple grand. Again, depend on what your sort of budgetary restraints are, but obviously try and get a certificate around that. Online courses, as I just mentioned, Coursera, Udemy, edX, set learning goals, hold yourself accountable. This is obviously quite important. You could sign up for a program, an online course, and you could never finish it because you just don't have the time. In reality, you do have the time, it's just you haven't prioritized it. Spend time networking, so engaging with your peers. So again, we've got 36 participants on this call. It could be a great opportunity for you to share your LinkedIn accounts with each other, start connecting with each other, because this is a great way to build out a global network as well, because you may or may not be in the same industry. There could be benefits of that down the track. Remain flexible and adaptable. Like I said, there's no sort of 9 to 5 sort of work model anymore. You need to have the ability to work whenever is needed, but you can actually work wherever as well. So again, it's better just understand that resilience and adaptability and what's your own limits. Resilience can be defined as the ability to swiftly recover from setbacks or difficulties. So if you plan on building an international career, there's going to be setbacks. There will be visa issues. There will be insurance issues. There will be rental issues. There will be a wealth of other issues that come from it. But at the end of the day, just sort of reflect that this is a choice that you're making. There's going to be setbacks, but there's always other avenues to pursue your goals. So you may not be able to move to the UK as of now because you maybe need a particular visa. However, this could be an opportunity for you to explore more of Southeast Asia. So again, yes, you'll have setbacks, but again, reflecting on where you can potentially move yourself to. And then it's developing a strong CV and interview skills. And this is quite important. No doubt you'll discuss this with your internship coaches. And if you haven't booked your call with your internship coach, I would strongly suggest that you do this because there's a wealth of information in there for you. But interviews, today is easy to research and participate in common interview questions. You can go onto YouTube and you can type in common interview questions for engineering. They'll show you a list and they'll go through on how to answer those. You'll just have to slightly adapt it to obviously for your own personality, because again, you need to be personal in these responses. There's also CVs, and these are still quite needed, even though in our sort of technological age and there's LinkedIn and there's all these other things, a CV is still needed. So it is essential that you have a developed CV. And again, the internship coaches can help you build this out if you have not already. When it comes to sort of building it, each bullet point starts with an action verb. So you can see down here, each job only has 3 to 4 clear bullet points. You don't need to be listing paragraphs upon paragraphs. I've seen thousands of CVs which are 5 to 6 pages long and sort of explaining one particular aspect of the career experience. We don't need that information. Really need the highlight notes, and it's 3 to 4 bullet points. You need to be able to articulate your experience in 3 to 4 bullet points, because that is all the time that will be allocated to you when you're actually speaking in person as well. The bullet points have to be numbered or in some cases dotted, and all jobs are formatted the same way for easy reading. So make sure it's all the same format. Don't have one sort of Times numeral and then one Comic Sans. In fact, don't ever use Comic Sans in your CV. So again, make sure it's professional, sort of laid out the entire way. But like I said, the internship coaches can help you with that. So I think we've got time for a Q&A. We've got about 10 more minutes.
You know what I love? Something that I've been observing, because I've been adding those who have been sharing their LinkedIn profile. I've been adding them to my network. And I think, Alex, maybe we could share like very basic tips for LinkedIn, because I've been observing that, well, one key thing for a LinkedIn profile is to have a picture. We need to have a picture, right? And it has to be a professional looking picture, okay? And by that, we mean just our face, no sunglasses, like in a clear background, looking straight to the camera, right? And we can smile a little bit because why not? We're happy people. Yeah. And we also need to take advantage of the picture. I don't know if you want to share your LinkedIn.
Yeah, just sorting that out now. So this is my LinkedIn account, okay? This is something I've worked over the last few years, and this is something I continuously work on as well. So as you can see here, this is just a professional photo of me. This is something I got a friend of mine to take a photo of me on a white background. Doesn't have to be anything fantastic. Obviously, this photo has changed over time. I've got a beard growing now, hair's a bit slightly different, but that's completely fine. You can update this as this goes. So, but it's important to have a clear picture of your face. Can't stress this enough. It can't be a picture of you enjoying the countryside. It can't be you riding a bike. It needs to be professional and needs to be quite clear. And so people can really see who you are, okay? You can smile if you want to have a little bit of a smirk. You can make it a little bit more personal, but make sure it's professional. Then it's obviously having a background picture, because when you search for people, this will pop up. So obviously mine is virtual internships, okay?
But that picture can be anything related. If you're still, you don't have a job, it can be related to what you're interested in. For instance, if you code, it could be a nice picture, you know, with something coding looking like. If you're into medicine, it can be something related to medicine, something that relates to what you do, or something that gives, you know, some kind of brand frame. But try not to leave that, try to put a picture there, because no picture looks a bit weird. Someone could see, oh, does this person really take care of their profile? Are they active? So someone could say like, oh, maybe this doesn't look like real. So you want to do that.
Make sure you have a picture. And again, like we've sort of said, it doesn't have to be anything to focus. It can be just within your industry. You know, it just has to be somewhat pleasant, because again, it shows that you're active on the page. The next important part is the small little description about yourself. So as you can see here is international education, business development, admissions, and recruitment professional. That's my experience. In a few sentences, I told you my experience, what I do, and what I excel at, okay? It's key that you sort of develop this little section for yourself. And it'll be slightly different from everyone. However, it will be these keywords of, you know, what you're essentially skilled at. So if you're an electronic engineer, obviously you would say, you know, electronic engineer of particular software, particular sort of systems. Okay. If it's a, you know, medical background, obviously you're listing off those particular sort of sections that you know. You can be broad, but that's not as beneficial for you. Okay. Then you can see here is I have about 407 connections. On an average, my profile gets viewed about 80 times weekly. LinkedIn will let you know how often you get checked out. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay for the LinkedIn sort of subscription. I just use the free one. I don't know if you need to really pay for it. That's my personal take on it. But you can see about having 404 connections here, all are sort of relevant to my industry. So when I go to events, when I go to networking events, one of the first things I do is obviously I hand over a card. It's just what I do. But the second part is I add them on LinkedIn, because that's really important, is you add people on LinkedIn so you can build out your network, so you can connect with each other. Okay. You can then take some skill quizzes. This allows you to obviously see what your skills are. It allows you to showcase these skills as well. And as you can see, my sort of analytics profile, 80 profile views, 687 post impressions, 42 search appearances. So and again, I'm active on LinkedIn. I wouldn't say I'm as active as some of my other colleagues, but I am still somewhat active. This is what sort of result has happened. Okay. I've got a little bit of about me as well. It's roughly about a paragraph long. It doesn't need to be anything longer than that. No one's going to spend, 5-10 minutes reading about you. They really want to spend about a minute or two reading about who you are. You can see all my activities here and any posts that I've done. And you can see my work experience. So currently international recruitment manager, was the enrollment manager. I was the Asian Pacific University relationship manager, call center representative, marketing business. And this is my other internships I've done. So this internship was done in Brisbane, and this is for it was for a beer festival that I was working for and promoting that festival. This marketing intern was based in Beijing. So this allowed me to get international experience in working with other different cultures. And I would strongly suggest if you have the opportunity to do that, you should do so. But then I also have 7 other experiences as well. And it sort of rates from, my most current ones to obviously the ones that I've done during my university. So this is really how a sort of LinkedIn should be built out. You've got my education here. It's important, don't get me wrong, but it's not as important as my work experience. So there's, these are my sort of interests, and this is what I've done. You can see my high school years. Kingaroy is a town 45 minutes from Nanango, if you're looking at Google. You can see any of my certifications. So if you've got any coding, if you've got any sort of online certificates, this is where you should be adding them in here. As you can see, I've got a hospitality certificate. I can potentially work in any bar. And then I've got volunteering experience and my skills down the bottom. Okay. I do want to highlight
Alex.
just one more thing, just want to highlight quickly, is always getting recommendations from your supervisors. This is really important. This can be from your supervisors. This can be from your peers. This can be from your teachers. Just ask them. Just, hey, look, it's been fantastic working with you. Can you spend 10, 15 minutes writing a recommendation for me on LinkedIn? It's not that hard. It won't take them that long. And it allows you to sort of showcase your skills a bit more. Perfect.
Yes, and at this stage, don't worry if your LinkedIn is not as complete as Alex's, because of course, Alex has already been working for a while now, but it is good to start somewhere. So you can start by uploading a professional looking photo, putting a nice banner picture, completing your key description with keyword things you're interested in, the industry you want to explore. We will definitely have a LinkedIn webinar coming up in the upcoming month. So you should pay attention to your emails because LinkedIn is super powerful.
Yes.
So we're going to wrap up. We do have one last question here I wanted to cover. Christian asked, if you live in Ireland and secure a job in Canada or in America, can the company or recruitment agent help you get the employment visa, or is just your responsibility to look for that? What do you think?
So when it comes to agencies that work with visas, it's their job to help you get into it. If you've got, from my understanding of this question is, you've already got a job in Canada or America. Okay, so they've already offered you a job. What obviously that conversation would involve was obviously speaking to them about the needed visas and requirements. Before you actually have a chat with that company, do reach out to some agencies and say, look, I currently live in Ireland. My intention is to live in Canada. I've already been offered a job. However, I need to get a visa. What information do I need? They can make your life so much easier. So I've actually recently used an agency to move to Scotland because I'm an Australian. There's different visas around that, different working rights. I used an agency to help me with that because it can be a little bit of a nightmare. It can be quite traumatic, but if you use an agency, that can help with that.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I'd love to know if you want to share in the chat, what are some key things that you are taking away from this webinar? Okay, I'm excited. I'm taking a look at your LinkedIn profiles, and there are some really good ones. Nice. So who wants to share in the chat one thing that you are taking away from this webinar? Meanwhile, I want to remind you, if you don't know, that you have 2 coaching calls as part of your program. And if you haven't had these calls already, check if you haven't missed your email. If not, probably you will receive an email to book the call soon. And if you are by the end of your internship and you haven't still received any emails, reach out to you, because that shouldn't be the case. You usually receive emails. And send us an email to internship coach virtual internships. I'm sharing this in the chat. And someone is sharing, I learned ways to improve my hard skills. Nice. Someone else says that I shouldn't underestimate the power of a good LinkedIn profile. Absolutely not. LinkedIn
Very
is
true.
super powerful. Yes. So one thing you can do after this webinar, take a look at Alex's profile, get some
Yes.
LinkedIn profile, add him, and
By all
take some
means.
inspiration so you improve your LinkedIn profile. And be attentive because we will soon be doing a webinar on how to improve your LinkedIn profile. So stay tuned, take
Perfect.
a look at your emails, okay? So, and where to present ourselves, as someone else learned. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been super nice. I hope you have enjoyed our session and you already know how to stay in touch with Alex. He has shared his LinkedIn profile. You can always
Please do add me.
reach
I'd be
out to
delighted
him,
share.
to me. You also have my LinkedIn account. And as always, we will be inviting you to our next webinar. After the webinar, you will receive a small survey. Please complete it so we get your feedback and we know if you liked it and perhaps if you have other topics you want to explore in the future. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a beautiful day and see you the next time. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.